Hey everybody, it's Jade Simmons. Come on in for another episode, fourth episode, can you believe it, of Get Your Designer Life. I'm your host, Jade Simmons, and I am so excited to be welcoming you back to another episode. Some of you might know I am coming to you right here from Houston, Texas, hashtag Houston Strong. Thank you so much to those of you who have taken the time to reach out to make sure that me and my family have been okay during Hurricane Harvey. We have to say we have been extraordinarily fortunate, and I will share a little bit more about that with you as you come on in. But I am just delighted, of course, to still be here and to still be on this earth doing what I believe I have been put here to do, which is to inspire and to activate. So come on in. We're excited to be here, and I'm excited to make so many different announcements tonight. Have I said excited enough? Hey, Mayan. Hey, Susan. You were just checking to see if I'm on. Yes, I am back. Hey, Mama. My mama is watching, and she is also here with me because she has been here through the entirety of the hurricane, which was a really wonderful way for us to have some unexpected family time. Can I tell you how important family is? It's instances like this that make you remember that even more so. So come on in. Hey, Jackie, good to see you. Come on in, guys. I'm excited because we are doing an episode with a topic that really got a lot of you guys buzzing last week when we were supposed to do it. We postponed it, so thank you, of course, for understanding. But when we announced the topic, which is facing off with your consistently inconsistent self, ouch, many of you hit me up and let me know you were really wanting, hey Ellen, to hear about this topic. And I'm guessing it's not because you're inconsistent, it's because you wanted to find out how to help an inconsistent friend, right? So I'm going to be telling you all about consistency and inconsistency and what we can do to finally kick inconsistency to the curb. So come on in, share this, guys. This is a special episode. During this last week or so, I've had some incredible revelations, many of which changed the direction in which I was going to take this episode on consistency. You know, you never know where your lessons are going to come from. So you should really be open to learning wherever the lessons are going to come from. So you're going to see in this episode that there are a lot of things that I want to share that I believe God has placed on my heart. And I've learned a lot over the last week, 8-9 days, and I'm excited, of course, to share it with you. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jade Simmons. I make my career as a concert pianist and as a powerhouse speaker. And I also, well, I guess the only way to really describe it, I consider myself not just a coach, but your dream wing woman, if that makes sense. Back in the day, what I used to do is just snatch your baby. Does that make any sense? So, in other words, if you used to tell me what your creative idea was, I would have a gazillion ideas to add to your creative baby, and the next thing you knew, I would just snatch your baby right out of your hands and decorate it, grow it up, dress it, make it look good, make it smell good, till you didn't even remember it was your baby in the first place. I made it look that good. Then you didn't even have ownership over it, and it was like it was my baby in the first place, right? That's not good, because you have to have ownership over your creative ideas. So what I learned to do was not snatch your baby, but to empower you to grow your own creative babies up. Because I got enough purpose, enough assignment on my life that I don't need to be taking on your projects. Some of you multifaceted, multi-passionate people out there have the same issue with snatching other people's creative babies, and you do it and it disallows you from actually pursuing your own purpose. Hey, Valencia. So one of the things that I actually specialize in these days is empowering people, especially visionary women of great purpose and power and impact, to not only chase their dreams, but to catch them, to uncover their original blueprints, and to be about the business of living life on assignment. People say, well, do you help them build businesses? Do you help them start speaking careers? Are you only working with artists? Well, I used to do all of those things. What I really love to focus on these days is not just helping people launch stuff or launch a business or finish a project. I feel my truest calling is in helping people launch themselves. Because if you launch yourself, if you launch your mindset, if you launch your belief system, if you launch your purpose, you can go out and launch whatever you want to launch on your own. So that's what I believe I'm here to do, which is to activate you into all those things. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Britt. So I hope you'll join me tonight. Stay with me, share this, because we're going to be talking about inconsistency and how to become more consistent in everything that you do. I don't believe in helping you in one area. It's not just about your business. It's about spiritual life, emotional life, personal life, professional life. All of those things go together. If you've been watching, we've been talking about not compartmentalizing yourself, but bringing all of yourself to every table all the time. If you want to learn more about me, just who the heck is this chick, go to jadesimmons.com. What I really want you to focus on is a new project. This is a club, a one-of-a-kind club that we're launching called the Designer Growth Club, and it is for visionary women like many of you who are tuning in, who are looking for what I like to think of as a spiritual IV, something to plug into that keeps you fueled as you are going about the business of doing the assignment of living out the calling that is on your life. So you're going to check that out at designergrowthclub.com. We're so excited that we are opening the doors to that this Sunday, September 10th. So do what you can to learn more about that before Sunday. Join the wait list so that you're in the know beforehand, because we have incredible special offers that are coming out before the doors open. So get in the know. Sign up tonight on the wait list. It's free. It's just to give you more information so that you're in the know before the doors open. Let's jump in. Tonight we are talking about facing off with your consistently inconsistent self. First of all, let me say again, thank you to all of you who've been sending in those wonderful prayers and well wishes for me and my family and for all of Houston. We were very fortunate. We're in a neighborhood that really went almost wholly untouched by the storm. We did not see the flooding and the devastation that you saw on the news. You know, the news rarely ever covers the areas that do well. We were very fortunate to be in an area that did very well. Hey, Karen. So we were very fortunate in that way, very blessed. Now, what does that mean, right? If you survived? Well, I feel like the question I have to ask myself is, why was I spared? And people say, well, that question doesn't apply to me, Jade, because I didn't just go through a hurricane. Let me tell you something. If you woke up this morning and you weren't one of the thousands of people in this country that passed away yesterday from natural death, from natural disasters, from crime, from accidents, from freak accidents, if you're still here, you were spared. And you have to ask yourself every day, why am I still here? What assignment is still on my life that the world needs me to fulfill? So you have no time to feel guilty about the fact that the storm didn't take you out. You have no time to wonder if you deserve to still be here. You simply only have just enough time to figure out, why, God, am I still on assignment, and what is that assignment? And please help me not waste one more minute on this earth. Since you have allowed me to wake up and take yet another breath, tell me why I'm here. So that was something that kind of really shook me a bit to the core, to think about the fact that we were spared. And then I realized we're all spared. So remember that if you're still here, hey, Jawanda, you have been spared, and you've been spared for a reason. And I believe that part of my calling and my purpose is to help you figure out what's the reason. So we're talking about consistency tonight. And one of the things that I realized during this storm was there were some things that were really consistent. People are interesting. Those of you who live in Houston will know what I'm talking about right away. Hey, Tangela. I was blown away in a really great way at how people of all walks of life, every color under the sun, band together to help each other. Now you remember, only weeks before we'd gone through the awfulness that was Charlottesville, and we were shocked at how divided our country was. So I believe that what we saw in the aftermath of Harvey was the consistency of what it really means to be human. that at our core, as humans, we really do want the best for other human beings. And so when I saw white guys in boats helping black families and vice versa, I knew that's the consistency of who we were created to be. As children of God, we were being consistent in that behavior. And man, was that empowering to see. Now, another consistency that wasn't so pretty. Facebook. First, when the storm hit, we saw people saying, pray for Houston. And we saw some really wonderful well wishes or people who were concerned, looking for loved ones, wanting to know that we were okay. And then as time went on, people started to get suspicious. Or they started to point fingers and wonder why the mayor wasn't doing something one way, or maybe why a famous pastor wasn't behaving a way they thought. And I just got really curious about the way that people would talk. And when I would see one person saying something negative, I got really curious and I wanted to know, I wonder who they consistently are. And when I tell you, when I would go down their timeline, I noticed usually that person was consistently that way. You have to be so careful how you speak, especially in times of stress and tragedy, because they usually are indicators of who you really are. We have to be consistent in who we are. We have to be consistent in how we talk. We have to be consistent in what we release into the world when the world is most closely watching. Do you know I have never unfriended this many people before? Not because they said anything wrong to me, but because in this season, when I'm trying to do my biggest stuff, when I'm trying to be elevated in the biggest way, I have to make sure to distance myself from small-minded people. You have to be so careful to be consistent about who you're surrounding yourself with. And you say, well, Jade, it's just social media. That stuff doesn't matter. Let me tell you what. If people are speaking onto your page, they are putting that stuff into your atmosphere. Hey, Gina. Hey, Danielle. Don't you allow people to put negativity into any of your spaces. Your Facebook page is your real estate. Don't you allow pettiness onto your property. When you see that stuff, politely disengage. Do your best, unless you really feel, and listen to this, unless you really feel spiritually led to interject. And I have done that before. There were times when I did have to step in because I felt like it would have been a sin not to say something or speak truth into a situation. When you see negativity for the most part that does not want to be corrected, exit the room, exit stage left. And be protective of your space. That's something you can be consistent in. You have the right to choose what type of people surround you, and that includes your social media spaces. That is your real estate property. Tangela, I am with you. I felt sorry, that people were underwater and I wasn't, right? But you don't have to feel that guilt. You simply spend your energy praying for the people who were less fortunate, and then you ask God, why am I still here? Why am I above water? We're not supposed to drown now in guilt if we were spared in the natural. Yeah, I know it feels a little bit unfair, but there's a reason you're still here, and it might be to help the people who were less fortunate in this situation. Hey, Vicky, good to see you. Come on in. So you want to be consistent now in what you release into the world, and you want to be consistent in how you show up. Man, when I watched how some people were responding to the negativity that was being thrown at them, let's just use the example of Joel Osteen. Whether or not he's your favorite person doesn't matter. What I was curious was just studying him, and I noticed, you know what? He was kind of the same person he always is. And honestly, could you have been the same person if that kind of negativity were being thrown at you? It's like he decided, I'm not going to let this situation and people who don't know me change my character. That's a way you can be consistent. No matter what's being thrown at you, do not let negative situations and negative people make you become an inconsistent person. Because so much of your witness, so much of your power, so much of your impact and what you're going to be able to do in society is going to come from showing up in a consistent way over and over again. Thank you for those of you who are just joining. Thank you for sharing, Vicky. We are talking about consistency and what it means to face off against your inconsistent self. And we can all admit that sometimes we struggle with consistency. I can raise my hand on that. But I do feel like over the years, I have figured out that there were at least 3 consistency culprits. And I have made a concerted effort to kill those guys off. And so tonight I'm going to be revealing to you those 3 consistency culprits and talking to you about how to put those guys to bed for good. So do share. If you know people who openly say, man, I wish I could be more consistent, then this is going to be the episode for them. We're talking about consistency because we know everybody says it's one of the main things you need to do to be successful, yet we all know it's the hardest thing to actually do, even though we know it would be really good for us to do. So I'm going to talk about how you sneak up on these consistency culprits, how you analyze them, how you figure them out. And then you'll see that when you can commit to taking these areas seriously and to really kind of getting these culprits out of your life, when you can commit to that, what you're doing is committing to no longer self-sabotaging. And that's something that we have to learn to do. It's amazing that big thinkers and visionaries really are usually the most guilty of self-sabotage. It's because of the burden of the vision on our lives that sometimes we secretly look for ways to not have to follow through. Hey, Anna, so wonderful to have you on with us. The worst thing is when it comes to inconsistency, I want to make sure that you're not despising the person that you're looking at in the mirror. Okay, so let me back up. My mom was teasing me after the first broadcast because she said, you know, Jade, your inspiration's not really a pat on the back. It's kind of like a punch in the gut. And I know what she meant. I hope I make you feel mostly good, but a lot of times what I'm going to tell you is a little bit of an ouch. And that's because I believe that, you know, no pain, no gain. And I do want you to take a harder look at yourself. I do want you to take a harder line with yourself, but I do not want you to beat yourself up. I do not want you to hate yourself. I do not want you to condemn yourself. So a lot of what I'm asking you to do is to take a harder look so that you can do some hard work, so that you can actually enjoy living with yourself and becoming the bigger person that you're supposed to be. So tonight we're going to be calling those culprits out, and I'm going to be telling you how to cast them out of your life in order to see more momentum behind the plans that you've been making for a long time now. So when I announced we were doing this episode 2 weeks ago, Tangela, you're jumping the gun, which is great. You said you wish your ideas, your actions, and emotions could all line up all the same time, all the time. So one thing I want you guys to tell me is, what are the areas you wish you had more consistency in so that I can address them as I'm going? When I announced this episode, a friend of my sister's, a friend of mine as well, Doti, she was so excited and she said, okay, I got some questions. And so I'm actually going to start off with her questions because I think they really address many of the issues that many of us deal with. She said, Jade, what about those days, in talking about consistency, what about those days when you just feel off? You know, you have like a good week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're knocking out that to-do list. You're going to the gym, you're eating right, you're going to bed on time, you're doing everything well. And then Thursday comes and you just don't feel right. You just feel off, you know? Hey, Auntie Janice, my aunt's on the line, y'all. She said, what about those days when you feel off? Okay, sidebar. Sometimes you got to ignore when you feel off and you just have to push through and do what you know you got to do. That's the truth. But I got some good news for you. Sometimes when you feel off, those are real signals. Those are what I call signal days, and you must respond appropriately. Sometimes your mind, your body, and your soul need rest. And the only way they know how to get your attention is to feel off. So they're telling you, look, we've been going hard for 3 days, but on day 4, I just need a little bit of rest to refuel and get back on track. Now, most of us, if we are overachievers and pushers, you know, I love push through. We ignore the signal, we push through, and then what happens is the quality of our work diminishes. And then we're upset at ourselves because we weren't as excellent as we were at the beginning of the week, right? So it's a really bad cycle if you don't listen. So here's the good news. Consistency is not always about repetition at a set time without breaks, Tangela. Consistency is not always repetition at the same time without breaks. Sometimes consistency is about a repeated action of excellent work at the right pace with the right breaks. Do you see the distance? The difference there? So what I'm saying is you want to get more intentional about your interruptions so that you don't feel interrupted unintentionally. Signal days. I know, Jackie, because you and I are the same. We push through, we get it done. But I'm telling you, sometimes your body gives you a signal. And here's what you do. If you notice that you're good for 3 days and then you tend to poop out on the 4th day, and that's a habit all the time, it always happens that way, might be a signal. Here's what you do. You start planning on purpose that you're going to go hard for 3 days, and on day 4, you're going to work in an intentional break. Might not be the whole day. May just be the first hour of the 4th day, may just be the first half of the 4th day, but you work in that break and you call it an intentional refueling, and that way your mind and your body look forward to it and it plans to use it to power your next move. You see, if you work hard and you're secretly dreading that, I know what's going to happen, day 4 is going to come and I'm going to poop out, you're already demoralized before you even get there. You're already demoralized. Know the difference between rest and a detour. That's a good way to put it, Ellen. If you can plan it in, it's not a detour. You're ready for it. You know what you're going to find is you actually work harder on those first 3 days. It's like when you have a vacation coming up. Anybody ever notice that? You have vacation, all of a sudden you get like twice as much work done in the week before the vacation because you're so excited about going on vacation. It's the same thing. Especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs or you work from home, or even when you work in the office. When you plan knowing, this is my tendency, let me pay attention. There are no accidents in how you were built. Don't despise all of your tendencies. Investigate them before you despise them. Doti also asked me, she said, what about the years? She said, what about the years when you struggled to get anything done? Right? So we went from the days where you felt off. What about the years when you struggled to get anything done? All right. All my overachievers out there. She said, what about the years when I struggled? Overachievers tend to focus on what didn't get done. And then we tend to miss what happened for us when the stuff we wanted to happen wasn't happening. Anybody feel me out there? I know I'm preaching, Jawanda. I know this is for you. So you want to examine what you did get done. We could probably go back and look at our calendars and name some years that we weren't very happy with. Okay? Now, the same way you can go back and give me those years, I promise you, I could sit with you and look at those same years and show you what you actually achieved. Hey, Rick, come on in. I promise you. Here's what happens. Examine what you did get done. Likely that thing that you got done that you ignored was foundational and necessary in order to support where you're ultimately going to go. I'm going to give you proof because I know Jackie's out there going, I'm going to give you proof. In my early years of marriage, I got married very young to my amazing high school sweetheart. I don't know if he's on or not, but hey, sweetie. So we got married very young. We've been together since we were 15. We got married at like 21, 22 years old. There were certain career things that I wanted at like 16 that are just now happening, and I'm almost 40 years old. Now, I wanted those things to happen when I was 22, 23, and we just got married. Do you know that certain things I know now were delayed because it was more important for the foundation of our marriage to be built in those first few years than it was for my career to be built? In other words, the foundation of my marriage needed to be solid in order to support the trajectory of my career. Had my career taken off first, would my marriage have been able to survive at such a young age? I don't know for sure, right? I'd like to believe it, but I also like to believe that my God knows how things should be built and what sequence they should be built in. Some of you are resenting, despising, lamenting things that you think have taken too long. And in actuality, they've taken the exact right amount of time for you to be able to proceed without interruption. So that now whatever needs to happen in my career can go along smoothly. My home life can go along without interruption. My kids can be taken care of. My husband knows that he's loved. Do you see what I'm saying? So some things you needed to learn in the beginning. right? So some of you wanted a certain promotion on your job and you thought it should have happened 3 years ago. You've been working there too long now. It should have happened by now. You don't know what you've been saved from in that process of being delayed. There may be a person that needs to be eliminated at that next level because they would be doing nothing but blocking you all day long when you got there. So until they are moved out, it's better for you to be where you are so that when you are then elevated, when you get there, you won't have any interruption. You see, you never know what you're being saved of from in the name of rejection. I really do believe that your purpose and your destiny and your calling is so important that God loves you enough to delay you and sometimes even frustrate you so that when you get to where you're going, you can zoom along and not be interrupted. God's timing is everything. Yes, many of you are saying that. Timing is everything. So what I love to teach people how to do, this seems like a magic trick, is I think you can look back at patterns and start to see certain patterns that have always been at work in your life. And then you can lay those patterns out and start to see how things will fold out into the future. You can start to prepare based on the way things have always been happening. Most of us are completely oblivious to that. I think that's a part of an original blueprint. Can you handle what God, this is what Tangela is saying, can you handle what God is going to do in your life? Let me tell you what, the worst thing that can happen is you pray for breakthrough, and then you fumble it when you get it. I don't know about you, I do not want to break through and then fumble the ball when I finally catch it, right? So you have to understand those years that you think, and this is homework, I want you to go back and look at those years that you think were a wash. And I could name some. I remember 2011 felt like nothing was going to happen. I mean, it just felt like I'd had this really big break at the beginning of the year, and then it felt like nothing happened until 2012. It just felt like crickets. But when I look back now, there was some incredible foundation being laid. I was being taken on a whole different ride in terms of where my career was going to lead. But if you had asked me at the start of 2011 what I wanted my career to look like, if I'd gotten that version of my career, I would not be nearly as fulfilled as I am in the version that I'm living now. And that version came into fruition in that dormant year that felt like nothing was happening. So you have to be patient and understanding that there are things going on behind the scenes, that there's preparation happening within you that is getting you ready for what's coming ahead. So do not resent the years that you felt like you were struggling. If you feel like you were struggling, rejoice in that, because struggle is always related to being refined. If you were struggling, you were also being refined. So get excited about that. All right, why is consistency so hard? You can take a stab at that if you've been answering what are the areas that consistency is hard for you. You can also tell me why you think consistency is so hard for humans, right? I will give you my answer. I think that consistency is so hard because we haven't really found a root level of motivation worth being consistent for. What do I mean by that? We don't have the real things that need to be in place to drive us to really want to stay consistent. Impatient is one of them for real, Joanna, but that goes with what I'm saying. You have to have something worth waiting on. Most of us don't really have the root goal that's worth waiting on. Let me tell you what I mean. Your goal has to be strong enough to sustain your motivation. So it can't be vanity. Hey, Samantha, let me tell you this. It can't be vanity. So I have a goal. You know this, some of you, which is to have a six-pack, okay? I want a six-pack. I say again, but I don't really know if I ever had a six-pack. I had like a 4.5 pack, like maybe in high school, but I want a six-pack. And I get all gung-ho about it, right? Like especially after I tell you, I get all gung-ho. And I'll go a couple days and I'll eat really well and I'll work out hard. And then I'll kind of fade away a little bit. And I said, why? Why, Jade, am I not consistent about that? You know what I realized? Because as women, we have lots of options. You know, I'm relatively thin in the first place. So all I have to do is go out and buy a slimmer if I want. And under clothes, it kind of looks like I have a six-pack, right? I mean, I look relatively thin. My waist looks pretty small in a dress or in pants. And for the most part, I look decent in clothes. So nobody really knows if I didn't reach my goal. So the goal's not strong enough. Hey, Daniel, we're talking about six packs here. So the goal's not strong enough because it's a goal based in vanity. Only time it really matters is when swimsuit season is here, and I really don't get to the beach all that much anyway. So the goal, the root motivation is not good. Now here's what's changed my level of commitment. Someone said to me, you're supposed to be a battle axe, Jade. You are called to be a battle axe. I looked up the definition of a battle axe, and a battle axe is supposed to root things out. It's supposed to cut down stuff that needs to be cut down. It's supposed to really do some damage where bad systems and corrupt issues are. It's supposed to really be in there and be a weapon that's powerful and makes an impact. That got me motivated, and I thought, man, a battle axe has to have a good core. If I'm gonna be a real warrior, I gotta have a good solid core. Now, it's not really talking about my physical core, but isn't it? If you're going to be a strong warrior in any sense, don't you have to have a strong core? If I think about it, if I'm really called to be a world changer, if I have to get caught out there running, do I really want to get tired? That makes me want to work on endurance. If I'm called to save the world in any capacity, do I want to get caught exhausted? Do I want to get caught being not strong enough? That makes me want to do an extra push-up or two. You see, when the cause is vanity, there's no motivation in that because we can do a lot to look on the outside like we're good to go. Your root motivation has to be something internal that drives you. So Jawanda mentioned in patience, in order for you to want to work for something long enough, the cause has to go deep. It has to be rooted much more deeper than something that's vanity based. It also can't be something that you're doing for someone else. So those of us that are mothers out there, especially fathers, parents, many of our goals are for someone else. We say, well, I want to be the best parent possible. I want to be the best provider. I want to be the best mother. Well, that's good, but we all know that no matter how good of a parent you are, at some point, hey, Diana, no matter how great you are, no matter how many of those amazing cinnamon bun things you make, Ellen, at some point, your teenage kid's going to think you're not so awesome. And then what does that mean? Does that mean your purpose is for naught? Does it mean that you weren't the best parent ever? Does it erase your impact and your power? No. You have to decide that you're put on this earth not just to serve your family, which is a great thing, not just to be a helpmate to your wife or your husband, no, but that you're here for a cause that's greater than all of that. What is it? So you see, you have to be about the business of finding out the reason you're designed to wake up in the morning, which is not just for your kids, because God forbid, if you were to leave this earth tomorrow, they would still exist without you. Probably be a sadder life without you, but they would still exist. What would cease to come into existence if you cease to exist? When you find the answer to that, motivation is easy. You'll have to find ways to go to sleep at night because you can't help but feel like you have to stay awake to work on this thing. Tell you what, when I realized that there were people who needed to hear what I had to say, not even knew they wanted to hear it, but needed to hear it, that changed the way I worked on speeches. It changed the way that I worked on sermons, changed the way that I worked on blog posts, changed everything. When you say, well, Jade, is your career more important than your family? No. If you aren't making an impact, a life-changing impact at home, I don't want to hear anything about the life-changing impact you want to make in the world. You have to start at home, of course. But what I'm saying is that your purpose was always designed. It was always designed to be bigger than you and bigger than your immediate surroundings. Sometimes that means that the kids you're going to feed into are going to go out and have world-changing implications, not belittling the purpose and the role of a mother or a father in the home. But what I'm saying is you have to say, what else am I here for? What would cease to exist if I did not bring what's in me into existence? That's what you have to ask. That thing wakes you up every day. Never ever in all my years heard purpose come through so clearly. My. I'm glad, Ellen, because you know I'm talking directly to you. You all don't know it, but on the line, this lady, Ellen Savoy, is literally Proverbs 31 in action. That's who it was written about, even though it was written way long time ago. This is her. But I'm telling you, even when you have an incredible home life, an incredible domestic calling, an incredible job, an incredible office that you go to every day, an incredible church that you serve in, let me tell you, your life is designed to leave footprints everywhere you go, everywhere you go. And you get more consistent when you understand that. So we are talking about consistency here. The other reason it's very hard to be consistent is because there's a hidden wrong belief behind your inconsistency. So tell me which things, if you haven't already, where you're working towards and struggling with inconsistency. And I'm going to tell you right now the hidden wrong beliefs that are behind your inconsistency. And you can just kind of raise your hand to yourself where you are when you hear these. All right. Some of us are inconsistent because we secretly feel that we are not worthy of the thing we're trying to be consistent in, or that we don't deserve what we're going after, the thing that we're consistently going after. Some of us secretly don't believe we deserve the promotion we're going after. We secretly don't believe we deserve better health. I know that sounds crazy, but you would be surprised to find out how many limiting beliefs we keep inside of ourselves that keep us from going after for real what we really believe. Some of us, the other hidden wrong belief, don't really believe we're capable or competent of getting what we're going after. We're secretly afraid that if we slip up and be consistent enough to get there, we're going to fumble it. And so we are inconsistent self-consciously because we don't really feel we're going to be able to do it. We look at past failure, which is the third belief. We say, I'm not going to be able to be consistent because I've always been inconsistent in the past. That's probably everybody, right? We say, look, last time I went after this goal, last time I tried for weight loss, I only lasted 3 days. And then on the 4th day, I slipped up. Well, then you're going to go back and watch this replay and you're going to say, Jade told me, go hard for 3 days and on the 4th day, build in a cheat, right? So you can use this, examine yourself, study yourself. What has your pattern been? Don't just get mad at yourself and say, you know what, I can't do it. Say, why have I not been able to do it? What has kept me from being consistent all of these years, all of these days, this last time? Don't just say, because I haven't done it before, means I'm not going to be able to do it in the future. So those are 3 kind of pairs of hidden wrong beliefs that keep us from being consistent. The main thing here, those of you who watched the episode on boundless expectation, please do go back and watch that if you haven't. I said that the main thing we have to do is let go of the outcome. Do the work, let go of the outcome. Sometimes I'm guilty of this as charged. Our vision is so big and so long-term that it doesn't help us in the short term, right? So we're thinking so big, like I want my best body ever by the time I'm 40, which is in a few months, right? And so that's a big goal, right? You go, I'm going to fix my whole body in just a matter of days, matter of weeks. Well, it'd be much better to say, I want my best biceps in the next 3 weeks. I want my best core in the next month. And you focus on each little area and you tighten up each area. Next thing you know, it's November 27th and you are looking tight and right? ISIS 2-a-days, here we come. You do whatever you got to do, but you break it down into chunks. Don't just say, I want to change the world. Say, what can I do right now in Houston in the wake of Hurricane Harvey? Where can they use me? Here's something else you need to say. I know Hurricane Harvey just hit. I know they need volunteers, but I also know that God had me on another assignment prior to this hurricane. And while I will make myself available to help those in need, I will not abandon my mission and my purpose that was clear before this thing came to town. I wasn't supposed to say that. Do you know that even good deeds can be a distraction? We're going to talk about distraction in a second before we sign off here. Let me clarify. I'm not saying you're not supposed to help. I'm saying that sometimes those of us that are wired to jump in and help, sometimes we forget that we can help best by being consistent and following through on the original assignment that God gave us. Do you see what I'm saying here? There's an original assignment on your life, And there are always going to be good opportunities for you to get involved and help others, but you've got to still go back and be focused on the original thing you were called to do. I don't know if that's going to be a popular statement or not, but I feel like it needs to be said. Man, I cannot wait to get out there and help somebody rebuild a house. Some of you know that I love HGTV and I love building. And one of the things that I said I wish I had time to do was flip houses and build houses. So this, the idea of volunteering, hey Gail, in that capacity is actually very exciting to me. But I also have other deadlines that are coming. And it is not selfish of you to stay focused right now and say, this effort is going to extend for years in Houston. I am going to commit to something that I can do, but I am not going to lose my commitment to the other things that God has already put on my heart. They must be completed. They must be completed. Do not forget that. So sometimes even good things can be a distraction, yes? And you have to stay committed. Right now. There we go. All right, so some of you, we just cut out for a second there. What I was saying is you're going to break your big vision down into shorter term, bite-size things that you can be consistent about. All right, I want to wrap up here with the 3 consistency culprits. Hey, Rhonda, you came on just at the perfect time. 3 consistency culprits. Focus, Johnny. I'm telling you, stay focused. Rhonda, you would have appreciated that. You just got on. I was saying that even in these wonderful opportunities we have now to jump in and help and to work with the efforts we have here in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, that we still have to stay focused and committed to the original assignment God has on our lives, that even as we look to be involved in helping others, we still have to roll out the things that God had on our heart originally, even before the storms hit. So we have to stay focused. All right, 3 consistency culprits that we're going to have to kill. You got to get these guys out of your life. The first one is, drum roll please, condemnation. Condemnation has got to go. Condemnation is a part of a gang that I called quagmire emotions. Quagmire is an SAT vocabulary word that I love. Just means a sticky, gooey kind of substance that gets you locked down. Quagmire emotion is depression, demoralization, and doubt. Okay, you got to start living your life more like an analyst of yourself and less like an experiential person. So you don't have to commit to every emotion, right? You can feel depression and go, that feels like depression. Wonder why I'm depressed. Why am I not liking this environment? What about this project or this situation doesn't make me feel good? How can I change this atmosphere so that I can enjoy sticking to the task in front of me? Most of us feel depression or demoralization and doubt, and we jump into it, we wrap ourselves into it, and we say, man, this feels awful. This just sucks. We dive into it, we give into it, then we're covered by it, and then it slows us down. It makes it that much harder to be consistent. And then we condemn ourselves for feeling that way in the first place, right? So the alternative is to say that, we hate something or we're bad at it or we're not successful. And then that gives us a reason to quit on the spot without figuring out what the real issue is. So instead of being an experienced person, I want you to start being a person who analyzes. When you feel something, note it, note the signal, and then analyze, why am I feeling this way? And what can I do to change it right now? Condemnation is something you want to kill off. It is not of God. It is not designed to help you move. It is a momentum sapper. Every time you feel it, every time it comes close, tell it to get away. Look at it, figure out what it is, and then move on. All right, number 2 consistency culprit. This one is a guy that I have to kill at least once or twice a month. Some of these guys resurrect. I'm gonna just keep it real. Some of these guys come back, okay? So just keep your weapons locked and loaded. You're gonna have to, readdress the situation. Number 2 is all or nothing syndrome. This guy showed up at my house while we were here during the hurricane. All or nothing. This guy comes in and he gives us a good, hardcore excuse to slow down, quit, or delay. For me, came in the form during the hurricane. I was on a roll with working out. I was going really hardcore to the gym. Well, Once the storm came, I couldn't work out how I wanted to. I couldn't do my hardcore hour-and-a-half workouts with my fit at the front and my kickboxing, and so I just wasn't gonna work out at all. I'll show my body. Stupid, right? So all or nothing comes in and you go, well, if I can't do it exactly how I wanna do it, I won't do it. And then everything kind of goes down the drain. Consistency goes out the door. Let me tell you what, something is always better than nothing. And it's always going to inch you further towards the finish line than nothing at all. Movement is the key ingredient to momentum. Keep things moving. I know Isis is going to laugh at me because if nothing else, like by the end, once we realized this situation was going to last more than a few days, I realized all or nothing was not going to work. And so I would just kind of get on the floor and do a few burpees or a few sit-ups. And I know it didn't really do a lot, but at least I was moving a little bit, right? So don't give in to all or nothing. All or nothing is pride. All or nothing is ego. Don't give in to that guy. Do something. Keep moving. You might not be moving as much as you wanted to, but you're moving. And that means you're getting closer to where you were actually trying to go. Number 3, this guy you're going to have to probably deal with every day. At least 3 to 4 times a week. His name is comparison. Oh, comparison. Anybody deal with comparison? Let me tell you this right now. Stay your course. Your course. Comparison takes us off track, causes us to make wrong adjustments to your game plan. You hear me? You will look at somebody else doing something, getting results, and you say, well, I'm gonna try to do what they're doing because what I'm doing is not getting a result. So I'm gonna do what they're doing. Then you're really not gonna get any results. Then you're gonna have lost traction on your game plan and not get results for real when you were probably one day away from seeing results. I have lived this, so listen to me on this one. Those wrong adjustments can cause less than stellar results, which cause frustration. Frustration causes over-analysis. Over-analysis causes demoralization. Demoralization causes paralysis. Paralysis causes delay. Delay causes inconsistency. Valencia, you are not the only one guilty. My Lord, Jawanda says, all in the Kool-Aid. That's right. Whatever flavor it is, Jawanda, I'm up in it because comparison is everybody's devil, lady. It's everybody's devil, Tangela. Let me tell you where you're going to find comparison a lot. Y'all want to know? Oh, you don't want to know. I don't want you to know because if I tell you where you're going to find it, you might see less of me. Comparison lives all up and down Facebook Avenue. Do you hear me? All over Facebook is comparison. Let me tell you, you have to use Facebook wisely. Do not get on Facebook comparing yourself to people's posts. We don't go on Facebook to tell everybody what's going wrong in our life. For the most part, there are a few people who, anyway, for the most part, people go on Facebook to kind of paint a very glossy, beautiful image of how perfect life is. Or how they all made a gazillion bucks in just 3 hours. And if you press this button, you too can make a gazillion bucks in 3 hours if you just follow my plan. Anybody see any of those buttons? And they look so pretty and they're dressed so nice and the background so nice. I'm telling you, that stuff will drive you crazy. And then you're telling the ladies at Bible study this. You're going to go on Facebook, right? And you see somebody who's eating at a fancy restaurant and they're saying, oh, my husband just took me to Eddie V's and we had a good night and that's our 20th anniversary and he just loves me and he bought me this ring. And then your husband's going to come home from a hard day of work. You know what I'm saying? And you're mad at him because he didn't take you out. He didn't even know why you're mad. You know what I'm saying? Now you're looking at him sideways. Now you guys fighting and he didn't even know what happened. He just came home. You see what I'm saying? Now it's been 2 weeks and y'all haven't even talked. Because of Facebook. You see what I'm saying? And you didn't even know that her kids are running around acting crazy while they were at Eddie V's. You don't know all of that. See what I'm just saying? Stop it. Okay? Comparison is evil. Even the Bible says, do not look to the left or the right. But you know what's on the left and the right? On the left and the right is stuff. Stuff that you don't need to be seeing and comparing yourself to. I love this favorite minister of mine, Bishop Tudor Bismarck. He talks about the word distraction. And what I like to say is, first of all, you have to understand, the more consistent you are, the more traction you gain. The more traction you gain, the more momentum you gain. He says, look at distraction literally. It's distraction, right? When you get distracted, you literally lose traction. You lose your grip. Some people lose their minds over comparison, comparing themselves to things that are not real. I feel like what I am called to help you do is find your real self, your real path, your real template. It's not my job to say, if you just live life like I have lived it, and if you have just done everything that I do, you will have everything that I have. That's wrong. As a matter of fact, it would be a disservice to try to get you to live my life, because my breakthrough was not designed for you. It wouldn't even feel good to you. If I told some of you that you needed to write this amount of content or speak on this stage or play on this stage, you would throw up. And if some of you, if I were my sister, like what happened to her on Friday and the Astros called and said, we need you to sing the national anthem tomorrow, I would have passed out. I don't want her breakthrough. That was breakthrough for her. That was designed for her. She was being prepared for that for months. I wasn't being prepared for that breakthrough, right? So don't covet anybody else's breakthrough. Ask your God, ask God to show you, how am I designed to operate? What are my gifts intended for? And how am I designed to break through? And let me be prepared and ready for it. Do not let me look to the left or the right and be distracted. Do not let me lose my grip or get off course. So the name of this episode was Facing Off with Your Consistently Inconsistent Self. And what I want to say is that when you face off, what you're going to do is to decide. You're going to look yourself in the mirror and decide, what am I really? Thank you, Jesus. Yes, Isis. Thank you, Jesus. What am I really going after? It's not a six-pack. I'm not going after mommy or daddy of the year. I am not going after CEO of the century. I am not going after New York Times bestseller. What am I really going after? I'm going to tell you what you're really going after. God, I want you to tell me, what is it that would not exist if I did not bring it into fruition myself? What is the thing within me that has to be brought into fruition before I leave this earth? That is what you're working for. When you discover that thing, consistency is your friend. Consistency finds you. When you face off with yourself, you decide how you want to feel about yourself at the end of every day. Decide in advance how you want to feel about yourself at the end of every month, at the end of every year. Decide what you will not be distracted by in advance. Girl, Ellen, I know this is some good stuff. I know. How are you going to decide what you won't be distracted by? First, write a list of what you are currently distracted by. Some of you said comparison. Write it on the list. But don't just put comparison. What type of things attract you and distract you? Is it people always talking about how much money they've made in their business? And it may be because you're an aspiring business owner or you have a business that has struggled. There's a reason you're distracted by certain things. Is it by people who look a certain way? Maybe you're aiming for weight loss and skinny girls distract you. What is it? Or if you're like me and you're skinny, girls who got a little hip on them, maybe they distract you because they're thick and you used to pray to be thick. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to keep it real. What is it that distracts you? What do you compare yourself with? You like my enthusiasm and wisdom. That's why you stay at my house for a week. Oh, mommy, you're so sweet. What is it that distracts you? Sometimes I'm being funny and silly right now, but sometimes there are really deep-seated things that distract you. Sometimes you're distracted when you see couples who are greatly in love because you have a deficit in your own relationship. Make note of it and then tell yourself, how do we repair these things in our own relationship? Maybe you're distracted by just women who seem put together and happy with themselves. because you might not be happy with yourself. Make note of it. Decide, how do I get happy with myself? Maybe you're distracted by women or men who just seem like they're too much. They're just too over the top. They're too extra. I don't know anybody like that. But maybe they distract you. Maybe it's because you've been so quiet or so held back. You haven't yet unleashed yourself. Doesn't mean that everybody needs to be over the top. But you don't need to be bothered by people who are opposite of you. If it bothers you, find out why. Maybe you're bothered by quiet people. Is it because you haven't learned how to get quiet within yourself? Do some real work and find out why you're distracted so you don't have to be inconsistent when these things pop up in your life. I hope I'm not hurting your feelings, but that I'm helping you get to becoming the biggest version of yourself, because inconsistency keeps us small. You're going to now pick one area that you're going to be more consistent in. This is how you face off with yourself. I'm ending with this. You're going to pick one area to be more consistent in. It might be emotional regulation. You're going to decide, I'm going to look at this anger thing. I am not going to be so easily set off moving forward. Thank you, Samantha. I'm glad you were able to tune in. You want to pick an area. Really be honest with yourself about why you haven't been consistent and decide to get consistent. Consistency starts with the decision, right? And then a decision has to be followed with some plan of action. So I'm excited that you decided to tune in tonight and you followed through by actually watching through to the end. Make sure you share this replay. I really feel like a lot of people need to hear this message. We are so excited. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie came around. She said, at the beginning, but now she came around. I'm glad, because she's a tough cookie. So I knew if she's saying good stuff, that means it was good stuff. I love speaking to visionary women especially. I love speaking to men and women about wisdom and leadership and about impact and purpose, which is why I am thrilled that on Sunday, September 10th, we are opening the doors to the Designer Growth Club. I have had to rearrange my life, y'all, for this thing. Most of you know that I'm a speaker. I travel and speak to corporations and conferences and organizations and universities. And usually I'm speaking for about 45 minutes at a time, or like I'm doing with you now. And then I leave and I go, oh my gosh, I wish I had said this, or I wish I could have taught them this. Or I speak on Wednesdays at church and then we only have that hour together. Or I might write a book and then I go, I wish I had written this. And so the Designer Growth Club allows me to continually feed into the lives and fuel the purpose and the impact of what we believe is going to be an international gathering, a community of like-minded, kindred spirits, visionary women who are what we believe are visionary movers and shakers on the go. They know they have a lot of ground to cover and they want to do it in record time. So if that sounds like you, go check out designergrowthclub.com. We're not calling this coaching because it's something different than coaching. It's more like lifestyle cultivation. Designer life is living the life that we believe you were always intended to live. And it's based on helping you uncover what I like to call your breakout blueprint. I really believe we're not designed to be one-hit wonders. You're not designed to have one big break or one big breakthrough, but you're designed to have a life of back-to-back breakthrough, back-to-back-to-back-to-back breakthrough. And I love teaching the keys, the principles, and the art of how you create and cultivate back-to-back breakthrough. It is a faith-based, a faith-inspired, faith-fueled approach, but it applies across really a full circle, really spectrum, spiritual, emotional, professional, personal growth. So we're covering all our bases. I used to focus in one area, which was business. I used to help artists, but what I realized is we would start working in that one area. Say it was an 8-week program, and the first 4 weeks we'd end up working on spiritual, professional, emotional, personal stuff. And then we'd get around to the business, and I realized, oh my gosh, if we had only focused on the business, they wouldn't even be able to launch it if these other areas hadn't been in place. So now, instead of just focusing on launching a thing, I help women launch themselves. Because it's not my goal to set myself up as some guru that they feel they have to have the template from, but I want to be a source for those of you out here who want to consistently be able to plug in and have growth that applies every season. Not just for one thing that you're launching, but that if it's 6 months from now, you say, hey, I'm doing a business, I'm launching a business, I'm in a project, or I'm preaching, or I'm teaching, this growth applies. Or if in 8 months you say, you know what, I'm working less and I'm at home, but this growth still applies. Or if in 12 months you say, I'm going on a missions trip, this growth still applies. So we've tried to create something that I believe is really quite astounding. And like I said, I've rearranged my life to really focus on it and be able to breathe life and revelation into it. So go check it out. We are announcing some exciting news related to it, but only to those of you who are on the wait list. So go sign up on it. It's free to be on the wait list. That's just where you get all the insider info. So go to designergrowthclub.com. Thank you, Samantha. You love the website. We really worked hard on it, guys. We believe in excellence and execution, which you'll see, and we teach all of those things there. It's an amazing community that we're excited to roll out this Sunday. So sign up before then. Thank you for putting the website up, designergrowthclub.com. And come back next week for another episode of Get Your Designer Life. Thank you guys for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you soon. I'll respond to your comments as they come in. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.